question from Michael about maturity and what maturity is. And he quoted Jordan Peterson as talking about maturity as involving responsibility for another human being. And in particular, something about maturity, and this is actually a quote from Jordan, as we'll see in a minute, like maturity can only be achieved by being a parent. Only when you take responsibility over a child can you actually achieve maturity. And I thought, and I think that's wrong, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday. So I went and looked for the Jordan Peterson video, and while looking for that, I found another Jordan Peterson video about maturity, and this one's actually pretty good. That is, I think this one is, while he doesn't use the language that I would use, and we'll talk about that, I'll play it for you. It's quite good in terms of what he thinks maturity entails, and I actually agree with it. So I thought I'd show you that because, and then I'll show you a video where he talks about maturity being requiring, if you will, having children. So we'll watch both of those and see kind of the difference. I guess sometimes Jordan, depends on the context, his approach to a particular problem. I'm not sure it's as a when these two were made. I do think that, I don't know which one was made first. I could guess that the one we're going to watch first was made a while ago, and the other one is a more recent one, where you see a little bit of a change in Jordan's perspective on things. So let me see if I can play this for you. Now let me know about sound, if the sound is coming across okay. This is one of those short videos, so it's got its dimensions are kind of messed up. So this is Jordan Peterson just talking about maturity. I'm going to play, I think I'll play the whole thing. I think I'm going to mute my microphone so you don't hear it twice. Once coming out of, although I should have worn headphones, and then we wouldn't have had this problem. But I don't actually like doing the show with headphones. But anyway, I'm going to mute my mic so you don't hear it twice, and we're gonna play it, and we'll play it, and then we'll comment on it once it's done. Let me mute my mic.
What's the difference between a mature person and an immature person? Well, first of all, hope that we can all agree that there is a difference between like a toddler and a responsible adult, because otherwise, why would we grow up? Okay, so what characterizes a toddler? Well, a toddler is characterized by possession by a sequence of whims. Okay, so why is that counterproductive? Well, because the toddler wants what he wants right now, no matter what. Okay, so what does that mean, no matter what? It means no matter what it costs his future self, and no matter what it costs other people. Okay, so why is that bad? Well, if you betray your future self, you die. And if you can't get along with other people, then you die. You can't engage in reciprocal altruism, for example. So what you try to do when you socialize children is that you extend their purview so that as their cortex integrates, they're able to regulate their impulsive whim in accordance with their future self and with other people, right? So that's like the definition of maturity. What's the difference between a mature person?
All right, so he just gave us what he believes is the definition of maturity. And, for the most part, I agree. A toddler places his immediate gratification as his primary. Maturity involves being able to delay gratification. Maturity involves being able to look into the future, think about future consequences, and adjust your behavior in the present based on future consequences. Maturity involves having a hierarchy of values, understanding that one must give up a lower value to get a higher value in a trade. I think immaturity, you want the higher value without giving up anything, without giving up the lower value. So, for example, you want to have the nice car or the nice home without having to do the work to earn the money to be able to achieve the nice car, the nice home. So you're not involved. You don't see the value in trade, what he calls Reciprocal altruism, I'll just call trade, right? It's not reciprocal altruism that involves other people. It's the issue of trade, and it's the issue of earning things that requires time. So maturity is really the ability to project oneself into the future, think rationally, and basically decide on actions in the present, taking the future into account. So, they've done these, I think, tests with children. And if you put a piece of chocolate in front of a child and you say, you can have this piece of chocolate anytime you want, but if you can wait and not eat it for half an hour or an hour or whatever, you get 2 pieces of chocolate. So if you can resist your impulse to eat it right now, it's tasty, it's good, then you will be rewarded with an extra chocolate. Most children will eat the chocolate right now. They cannot project into the future and control themselves based on the idea that I will have 2 in the future. It's the bird in the hand. I want the bird in the hand, right? But it's not an issue of trust. It's an issue of cognitive ability. Projecting into the future requires cognition. Maturity involves being able to project into the future, being able to consider future outcomes and consider what he calls your future self. It's about being able to control your whims. So maturity involves being able to control your whims and being able to be a rational being. And again, children, there's certain capacities that they don't have. And one of the roles of a parent is to teach them and to guide them and to show them the value of waiting, the value of delayed gratification, the value of trading, the value of seeing life over time, not just in an instant. And of course, the value of not living by whim, but living by reason, living by thought, living rationally. I think Jordan captures some of that, at least, in his, what he calls a definition. It's not really a definition. It's in this minute video that he presents. I think that's a much better presentation of maturity than what we heard that Michael quoted yesterday, and we'll see another version of it today. So again, maturity is the ability to be rational, the ability to project into the future and to guide one's actions in the present based on a hierarchy of values with the future taken into account. That is, future outcomes, the thought of future outcomes, including the ability to trade with other people and the consequence of that trade. It is immature just to want stuff without thinking about the cost, without thinking about the cost, or without thinking about the work required, the values required in order to attain that stuff. Maturity involves understanding that wanting something doesn't make it happen, that wanting something, achieving something requires certain steps. Those steps have to be taken in order to achieve the thing one desires. All right, let me show you the other video, because this one's, I think, in some senses, this is maybe a later Jordan Peterson. I'm not sure if more mature. I'm just going to resize the window. I think that's good. Jordan Peterson, and I think this is now very different, and it's interesting that his perspective is so different within a few years. It would be my guess. This is a year ago. I'm not sure when that other video was made.
One of the things I've got in trouble for saying, which is true anyways, is that you don't grow up till you have kids. And people who don't have kids, who think they're grown up, take exception to that. And I can understand why, but I don't really care, because you're not mature until someone matters more than you do. And that, unless there's something wrong with you, like seriously wrong, and that happens to people, if you have kids, that will happen to you. And you might say you could be committed to something else with equal intensity. It's like, yeah, maybe. I doubt it. But maybe, there might be one person in 1,000 who's capable of taking on a burden that's equivalent, let's say, to care for a child in some other form, care for an ailing relative, for example, or a sibling, or maybe even sacrificial love for a husband or a wife. Very rare. Very rare.
What maturity does that give you to have?
So this is a very different Jordan Peterson. This is a Jordan Peterson much more interested in burden, in difficulty, in the struggle. Also, a Jordan Peterson that's much more focused on the idea of the other. That is of, you've got to, you reach the higher form of life, and you will, the highest form of maturity, when you love or you care about somebody else more than you care about yourself. And since he doesn't believe you can really do that unless it's with a child, you can never really achieve that level of maturity. Now, I give him credit for not thinking that we should all go around loving our neighbor, as much as we do ourselves, or more so, that he limits it just to children. But it's all other focused, responsibility, burden focused. He's gone away from the idea that maturity is about this, the difference between being a whim-worshipping, instant gratification creature and a creature capable of rational, long-term thinking and taking into account the future and taking into account delayed gratification and the benefits of delayed gratification. That's a very kind of different place of emphasis, which is interesting. I don't know why that change happened, but it is a significant change, I think. I prefer the first Jordan Peterson significantly, I think. I think basically, in much of what he said in the first, he's wrong against some of the terminology. He's right in terms of kind of the emphasis, in terms of what maturity means, in terms of his intent is to a large extent right on. Right. So, what we're seeing now is this more, you got to go through the rough and gritty, you've got to really, and if you don't have children, you can never attain maturity. That just is wrong. That just makes no sense. And it's this idea that you have to, there's some elevated state that you reach when you care for somebody more than you care for yourself. And I mean, this is him recommitting to altruism, recommitting to an altruistic philosophy, an altruistic ideology, which I don't think was front and center for him in his, I guess, original, when he originally became famous. So he has changed. He has changed. So yeah, I think maturity is an important concept. It's obviously something that we expect adults to achieve. It's something that we definitely have the capacity to achieve. I mean, children don't have the frontal, the frontal cortex. They don't have that part of the brain that allows them to think into the future and to really plan and to consider and they can't be fully rational. But once you achieve a certain age, this is the expectation that should be placed on you. That is what maturity involves. And to a large extent, I think an educational system that does not emphasize that, does not emphasize thinking, does not emphasize values, a hierarchy of values, how to deal with values, that does not emphasize trade and the essence of trade, does not emphasize thinking long-term about your own well-being, about your own values, which is what your own well-being means, your own values, and figuring out what's more important, what's less, again, hierarchy of values. It shouldn't be surprising that as we emphasize more and more emotion, more and more whim, we get kids that are less and less able. We get people who are less and less able in our culture to achieve maturity. or that it takes them longer to achieve that maturity, or, I mean, this is the sense in which Jordan Peterson is right about the children. Children force you into that recognition, at least to some extent. I think work does as well. Like, if you don't feed your kids, something really bad is going to happen. And it's pretty obvious, and it's pretty quick, and it's pretty instant, and you figure it out. If, I think the same thing is true at work. If you fail in your work, nobody cares about your feelings, your emotions, your state of mind. I mean, you fail enough times, you fail, you're out. So there is a, kids who grow up and enter their 20s and they're still immature, and there are many of them. Americans are very immature in their early 20s. Reality kind of knocks them over the head. And the reality of having kids, and the reality of getting fired from work, the reality of life, the kind of burdens and struggles that Jordan Peterson talks about, they will knock sense into you. That is true. And people become mature in the sense that they start taking into account the future. In that sense of maturity, yeah, having kids will knock sense into you. But that's not ideal. That's not the purpose of having kids, and that is not the only way to achieve the maturity. You can achieve maturity just by being a rational human being and by taking your values seriously.